Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. We will have more people joining us or just three today?
So we can start.
No, I mean, there are common things. We still have 2 minutes to go before time. So we can wait for another 2 minutes.
Yes.
We'll wait for another 2 minutes and then, okay?
Sure, sure. Yes.
Okay, it's 3 o'clock, so I think we can start. Jatin, are you expecting some more people to join later so that I can then take the general points later on and discuss one-on-one just now? Are we expecting more to join later on? Jatin, you are on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. So few people are joining in a bit late. So
okay, so what I'll do is I will do the general discussion later on. I will first have one-on-one discussion with these people and then have the general discussion. Is that fine?
sure. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Fine, sir.
So good afternoon, everyone. I think first of all, my compliments to Tushar, Jagrati, and Pavan, who qualified for interview in a very difficult exam. I jokingly tell people, and perhaps seriously, that I still get nightmares of not qualifying for the civil service exam. It's become much tougher than when it was when I appeared. I did that in 2 years. I appeared in 1979. For the first time, the Kothari Commission report was implemented. So we were all in the dark. We didn't know how it will happen. I qualified for the police service. And then I appeared again in 1980 and then qualified in 1981 in the IAS. I'm telling you all this because to impress upon you what changed from first year to second year. And what changed was the personality test. During the first year, I got around 55% marks. Second year, I got perhaps the highest in the country, and that made all the difference in qualifying. So personality test does make a lot of difference, as you would have already discovered or you will discover in due course, that even 5-10 marks different can land you in a service that you want and probably get you out of the job. So personality test is important. And my take is that you can do a lot of preparatory work. I'll touch upon general issues, as I said, when two other candidates join. For the time being, what we will try and do is I listen to each one of you separately. Briefly tell me about yourself. It's there in your DAF, but I want you to speak it out as to what do you think of yourself? Where are you from? What are your strengths, weaknesses? What are your hobbies? And then I will suggest a few aspects that you need to prepare for the civil service personality test. And then if you still have any questions that you want clarification on, you can ask me those questions. If that is fine with you, let us get cracking. We start with Tushar. Tushar, tell me briefly about you. Unmute yourself and try and tell me briefly about yourself.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Tushar. I am from Bhagalpur, Bihar. I have graduated from textile technology from IIT Delhi. My hobbies lies in playing badminton and cricket. Apart from that, last year I also interned with Rajya Sabha MP in the Parliament's winter session.
Where did you have your education from? You said your textile was from here. Before that,
So before that, my schooling was from Jawahar Vidya Mandir, Shamli. That's in Ranchi.
so there are few areas that you may consider working on. One is the Bhagalpur part. Now, people have forgotten Bhagalpur, but there could be some officer sitting there as a part of the board who would still remember Bhagalpur. So you should know about Bhagalpur, its fallout. Okay, that is one. At that point in time, Jharkhand and Bihar were one state. Now they have split. What has been the consequence of split on Jharkhand and Bihar? Economic development and otherwise. What are the indicators? So at the end of the show, I'll give you my mobile number. I'll take your mobile number. I had worked for a short while in Jharkhand, and I had written an article on the impact of split of the state. I'll share that with you. That might help you in understanding a few aspects. But you'll have to know a bit more in detail about the impact of the split, and also the impact of split of other states around that time. So that article of mine contains a comparison between Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, and how and why Chhattisgarh has grown much beyond Jharkhand as compared to, at the time in 2000 when they were split. In the 20 years, Chhattisgarh has grown much beyond what Jharkhand has. Okay. So you must understand the rationale of that split. What is the consequence of that split? Since you are fond of cricket and you come from Ranchi, so you should know much beyond Mahendra Singh Dhoni about how cricket has evolved. So there could be a cricketer sitting in the board, and he may ask you now. Though while talking generally, I'll re-emphasize this point. Your knowledge is not being tested. So suppose if you don't know much about cricket and you're just interested in watching cricket, it's very fair. So you don't have to be an expert. Don't fib, and I'll keep repeating this point. Don't guess. If you know about cricket being your hobby, tell. If you do, suppose they ask you what is the weight of the cricket bat. Now, obviously, I don't know. I'm very fond of cricket. I mean, I spend most of my time watching cricket. But to know the weight of the cricket bat, I'm not supposed to know that. How does it help? But they will ask you. They will see whether you guess or not. So they might, and please others also listen to this carefully. The questions may not be direct in the sense of ascertaining from you what you're saying. The questions are asked to ascertain how sound you are, how candid you are, how truthful you are, how forthright you are. Do you have the courage to accept that you don't know? So that is what they're looking at. So you should look at that. Now you have had a very interesting stint as an intern with an MP. Now this will actually flip into questions relating to civil servant politician relationship.
Okay.
What is the relationship? Is there a problem? And it is in this context, even otherwise I've been suggesting to you all, I have recently written a book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant, which also touches upon certain practical aspects of civil servant politician relationship through real case studies. Now, through this, they will also try and ascertain how positively you look at this relationship. Usually, people curse the politician for all the ills of this country. Now, if you also have that approach, you will be in trouble in interview. You have to have a positive approach to it. You can't say all politicians are bad. You can't say all politicians are good. So as when I talk in general terms, you have to bring about a balanced approach. But some question is bound to be asked of you regarding civil servant politician relations. The other aspect that could be asked is the necessity of Rajya Sabha, the necessity of second house. World over, there are a number of legislatures where there's no upper house. There's just one unicameral. But in India, we have bicameral. We adopted it from Britain. America also has two houses, but there are many other states or countries that don't have. Within the states also, some states have bicameral legislature, some don't. But since you have worked with this Rajya Sabha MP, such type of question could be asked of you. Then finally, they could ask you about textile. Because textile is a very sensitive sector and you've done your engineering textile. So you should know the historical evolution of textile in this country pre-independence, post-independence. What has undergone a change? How has technology transformed the tenets of textiles? Earlier, it was pure and simple handloom. Then power loom came. Now larger industry has come. What is the impact? And from here, they can go on to the impact on employment, because textile industry employs a large number of people. Now, mechanization of textile industry has led to reduction. Has it actually? I'm not saying it has. You have to ascertain what is the impact it has had on employment. Now, how does India's textile compete internationally? So you should understand India's competition with similar placed countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, for the purpose of export. So what has been there is something called a GSP. How has India benefited out of GSP? And how India stands to lose by, America and Europe denying us GSP. So you have to understand that also. So having worked in these sectors, you need not become an expert, but it would be expected of you to understand these aspects very clearly. So these are the broad things which I can think of. The other aspects that you may look into is Bihar's. You are now based out of Bihar or Jharkhand?
No, sir. I'm based in Bihar.
Now,
My
since you are
schooling is
based out
only
of
there.
Bihar, the problems that beset the state, why hasn't state developed? Now, suppose a question is asked of you that Bihar hasn't developed as well as other states in the country. What could be the reasons? So how do you start the answer? I just want to know, how do you start answering a question?
Sir, it's true that Bihar has not yet developed as per the other state, but in the recent years, we have seen that Bihar has been growing at a very tremendous pace. Since last 5 years, its average growth rate is in double digits. So it's catching up gradually. There were some reasons that led to the backwardness of Bihar. But first of all, historical reasons being
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. I think you started off very well, except for the fact that the pause was a bit too long. I mean, it's nice. You must have a pause, but it was a bit too long for anybody's comfort. So think over it. You need not have such a long pause. But you started off well. I think, see, you and others should also listen to this, both Pavan and Jagriti, that you have to give a positive tilt to your response. You can't start by remaining negative. I'll keep emphasizing this point when I make a general presentation later. There also I'll emphasize this point of giving a positive tilt to everything. So I'm glad though you concede the point that there are a few things wrong, you are looking at the positive aspect of the growth that has happened in Bihar. No, somebody may still say, no, it's very bad. But sir, certainly there is a lot that can be done. But the past 5 years give us hope that we can do. See, this is a positive tilt to any situation. So these will be useful. Okay, now if you have any questions, you can ask me. Any clarification, any area?
Sir, there's one thing that I want to ask from you, since you yourself have been an officer with the government. Sir, many times I have been asked about the Bhagalpur blinding rights in many of the mocks. Even in my interview last year also, it was being asked that you need to present a case study over it.
Last year means you appeared in the interview for the civil service last year?
Yes, sir.
You didn't mention that that's an important input. So you couldn't qualify for any service, or?
I couldn't qualify for any service. I didn't scored very well in last year's interview.
How much did you get in interview last year?
Sir, it's a 146.
Not very bad, but you can improve upon it. You have to aim at around 200, nothing less than 200. You get 200, you are in. And I'll tell you how to go about it. Yeah.
So, sir, I went through some of the pieces and things, but I did not get a very holistic idea of that incident. So I wanted your perspective that since you were there at that time,
I was a student when that happened, actually. It happened long ago. So yes, I have no first-hand information, but any such incident which puts the area to shame, you don't have to start by putting it to shame without not conceding that a wrong had happened. So you have to concede the fact that, yes, sir, it has brought shame to the entire state. And the little knowledge that I have of that period, or whatever little that I have read, makes me believe that that was more of an aberration than a practice, which deserves to be condemned and rightly condemned. And heartening to note that we didn't have a similar incident in subsequently. What we have to really look at what caused that, and then see if we could correct those. So I'm always looking at correction and positive things. Now, I'm also not fully conversant with the facts of the case. I broadly know. I did a case study long ago. I mean, this case study was discussed when I was a probationer. I'm talking of 1980. So the case had happened a few years back. So I did that. I forgot most of it. So it's not a question of knowing so many facts, but broadly, if you know, again, they're not looking at facts from you. They're looking at your approach. How do you do that? So it's not that you will not condemn it, but you look at the positives of every negative. Like, for example, in COVID. Now, COVID has not been brought out by anybody. It's there. Now, a positive person will try and get some lessons out of it. For example, it has told us to strengthen our healthcare system. It has exposed some of its weaknesses. So that's a positive way of looking at a negative thing. It has emphasized the need of technology to reach out to people, which probably was there, but not understood to the extent that it is now understood post-COVID. So you're looking at positive aspects of it, not denying the negative part of it, but you're looking at the positive part of it. Okay? Any other question you have?
Sir, let the other members contribute, then I will ask.
Okay, right. Okay, we go to Jagriti then.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Jagriti.
Sir, I live in Bhopal. I have completed my BTech in electrical engineering from NIT Bhopal in 2017. Then I worked for Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, Bhopal, as an engineer for 2 years. I left my job in 2019, and then I prepared for the examination. And this is my second attempt. One attempt I gave while I was in job.
What was your optional, Jagriti?
Sociology, sir.
Sociology. What are your hobbies?
Listening to Bundelkhandi music, organizing events, and public speaking.
Okay. So first of all, I mean, it's a generic question to be asked of all the engineers, that you spend so much time working so hard to become an engineer, and now you want to join a generalist job. You want to become a civil servant. Why? You must have a good answer for that. I'm not asking you to answer this question just now. Think over it, write it down, mug it up. You should have a very sound answer to this question. It could be asked in some way, some form or the other. You'll have to prepare for that. Second, that you worked in BHEL. This takes to a number of issues, and which you should understand. First is the functioning of the BHEL. How does it work? What are the recent problems? Second, problems with the public sector undertakings in general in India. Third, privatization. It's been on the anvil. It's been talked about now. You should clearly understand in all these topics that I'm suggesting, you should be able to provide a positive tilt to it. Now, you can be, if you want, be critical of the government, but it should not stop only at criticism. And I think both Tushar and Pavan should also adhere to this. I mean, no one will tell you not to be looking at critically what the government is doing, but the bottom line, or at the end of the day, you have to look at it positively. You have to give a positive tilt to everything. Then your hobbies are very interesting, actually. You may be asked question on Bundelkhandi music. I hope you know more about music and Bundelkhandi music. Do you sing?
Music's only Bundelkhandi music, the folk music of.
You sing. They will ask you this.
Yes, I'll sing a little.
Then you see, when you say that, very reluctant yes, you're not saying yes, you're not saying no. You're saying yes. So this is a reluctant yes. So you'll have to be prepared for further questions on this reluctant yes. Now, what is expected normally of the candidates that come? They are, at least on some fronts, they are sure of themselves. Now, try and not answer questions in the manner that you aren't sure what you're saying. I mean, you are open-minded. You are prepared to listen to others. You are not dogmatic, but you are clear-headed. By that, yes, you're not sure whether you sing or you don't sing. It may not reflect well on your personality. Now, if I were you, I would say I would play safe here because it's a reluctant yes. You can say, sir, I mean, I sing very little, but sir, I'm more fond of listening to the music. So then you have, got out of the singing part of it. They won't ask you a question on that. Otherwise, next question would be, can you sing a Bundelkhandi song? And you wouldn't know where to look. If you don't sing, it would look bad. If you sing, you look very awkward. You can't be singing in a interview. So you're getting into trouble. Don't do that. You say, sir, sometimes I sing, but I'm just like any bathroom singer, sir, just to entertain myself. So you are using some sense of humor, but you sing, then they will ask you, how is Bundelkhand music different from other music? What are the distinctive features of Bundelkhandi music? So can you answer this question to me?
The dialect is itself very unique, and it always focuses upon the regional issues that surround them. Women will speak about their marriage or childbirth.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's an excellent approach. So you actually defined the niche of Bundelkhand music. That is it. So since you can answer this so well that yes, unnecessarily is there. Got the point? You know it. You know what you're talking. And you're certain, and rightly so, what you talk about Bundelkhand music. Bundelkhand music is precisely what you're saying. That's what it is. It actually, unlike other areas, Bundelkhand has been known for highlighting local issues through music through centuries. And that's the distinctive feature, and you've put it. Then you talk about organizing events and public speaking. Now, people could start asking you about public. That's a very dangerous thing to write, but okay, you've written it, so be it. You'll have to defend that because they will ask you, what sort of public speaking? Do you speak to public? What is the difference between speaking to the public and public speaking? Because the public speaking that you have in mind is probably debates and things like that.
Yes.
Okay, but speaking to public is very different. Because the public that you speak to is not public as it is understood in general sense, but it is called public speaking. Now I'm playing with the words just to confuse you. They might do that. So, I mean, public speaking is an excellent attribute that a civil servant does require. But since you've written it as your hobby, then they might go into the details of who do you find as some of the finest public speakers? Who are your favorites? They will ask you, and then they will go into the details of that individual. So be prepared. They might ask you, will you treat Mother Teresa as a public speaker? Now I'm asking in a very absurd question. A similar question could be asked of you, just to put you off. So you have to be glib with since you are a public speaker, you should be able to respond. Unlike other candidates, you should not be struggling for words to express yourself, because that's what public speaking is all about. You don't struggle. What comes in your mind comes through logically and you're able to express yourself. So these are the areas I would suggest that you prepare for. And since you are from, you said, which place are you right now?
Bhopal.
Bhopal.
Yes, sir.
So then Bhopal has its history, geography, it has its culture. Get to know as much as you can about Bhopal. History in the sense of the Begums of Bhopal, the Nawabs of Bhopal. How is it? Because I'm certain that one of the members would have visited Bhopal or would have lived in Bhopal. So he would know about Bhopal. He will ask you about the culture, the tradition, the history, the problems that are there in MP. And the question that I was raising with the other gentleman here with regard to bifurcation of state,
Yes, sir.
the only state which after bifurcation actually has not performed as well as has been the other partner. Because Uttarakhand hasn't done so well, Jharkhand hasn't done so well, but Chhattisgarh has done very well.
Yes.
I'm not saying that you go by that. I will also share that article that I've written, which has bits about Chhattisgarh also. You should be aware of it. And then you should give it a positive tilt as much as possible. Okay, your questions now. Any apprehension that you have, questions that you have?
So one particular thing about the Bhopal gas tragedy, that Anderson was criminally charged by the Bhopal district court. And yet it is believed that political nexus led to him fleeing the country at that time. Now my question is whether the chairman of a company be detained for something that the Indian subsidiary was responsible for.
You know, you can examine this issue at length legally, because legally, probably the chairman of an international company may not be held liable or may be held liable. But more than the legal part, it's the ethical part of it as well. And ethics is beyond the domains of law. So if a company does what it does, and if what had happened because of negligence on the part of the employees of a company, then that company cannot, which is called a constructive liability, it will be held for vicarious liability, cannot not be held liable for that. That's my understanding. But if I were to answer this question, I would say, sir, we can debate that and come to a conclusion, but there are huge lessons coming out of what happened in Bhopal. And I think the focus should be as much on taking such preventive steps so that it does not recur as compared to taking action against those that were responsible. We can debate that. I mean, there could be legal opinion either ways, and people can justify that action should or should not be taken against the chairman. It can be debated, and it was debated in the court of law, and a certain compromise was reached. A decision was given by the Supreme Court. Some disagree with the decision, and this debate can go on. But I think the true worth of what happened was the lessons, and you can actually list out a few lessons. So you are again giving a positive tilt to an occurrence. You can continue to debate pros and cons of what happened, good, bad, action should be taken, not taken. But the real lesson out of this is the message coming out of it and portraying. If you can do that, you'll be able to give a positive tilt to it. And that's what the board is looking at.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question, clarification that you have in mind?
After some time.
Okay. So we go to Pawan now.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Pawan.
As everyone know, my name is Pawan Kumar. I have done all my schooling from Delhi. I graduated in Information Technology Engineering from Delhi College of Engineering in 2012. Post that, I worked for 5 years as software engineer with companies like Broadcom and Expedia Inc. And after that, I joined Ministry of Commerce as examiner of patents and designs. And for the past 4 years, I am working on that post. I have also qualified the State Civil Services exam and got selected as Deputy Superintendent of Police. My hobbies are blogging and watching comedy videos.
Okay, Pawan, the
Yes.
first question that would be asked of you is that you did your engineering in 2012, almost
Yes,
9
sir.
years ago.
Yes.
And you'll be joining the civil service now at this late stage. So
Yes, sir.
even assuming that you get into the IAS, do you think you will even become Additional Secretary Government of India?
Sir, I think, wherever we are, we should try to give our best. So those are higher posts, and of course, the opportunity to deliver there is much higher, and you can deliver at a much larger scale. But even if you join IAS and the starting position is of SDM, even there the scope is much wider. So, and nowadays government is doing like, even people are getting out of turn promotion, not just based on the seniority, but based on their caliber. There are ample opportunities where you can deliver.
Pawan, you are getting into
Yes.
trouble with the second part. First part is perfect.
Sorry, sir.
Second part, you are getting into serious trouble. So
Okay, sir.
this question will be asked of you, I'm certain. Don't mention the second part. Don't mention it at all. Let them ask this question.
Okay, sir.
You are comfortable with not getting the position that a young officer would get at the end of his career, because despite not getting that, you feel comfortable that position would be still better than the position where you are right now. Very,
Yes,
very
sir.
good. But if you talk in terms of out of turn promotion, there is a whole debate going on whether out of turn promotion is correct. How will it happen? You may be superseded yourself. So whether that is right or don't get into that area. Let them ask. They might ask this question that are you looking at benefits out of turn promotion? Then you should not
Yes.
be looking at benefits out of turn promotion. You say, sir, if it comes through, fair enough. That will be additional bonus. But I'm not going there for out of turn promotion. Because if you can get benefited out of it, you can be a loser also out of it. So be careful
Yes.
about that. Second question that could be asked of you is that having worked in the software area, being a technical expert so far, why do you want to join the generalist service? I mean, why should you want to join? So I'm not seeking an answer from you. Think over it. I'm sure since you gave the first answer, very good, except the second part of it. I'm not asking you that question. I'm just asking you to be prepared for that. Okay. Third would be that how technology, since you have the technology background, can help improve administration. Do you think technology can help improve administration? Now,
Yes,
here again, I will
certainly.
try to share one or two articles that I have written because I'm a firm believer that technology can improve administration phenomenally, not little. A lot of it can be improved. So it would help, but you must have a clear answer as to how technology can be beneficial to you for improvement. Third, since you got selected to the police force, which police force, the Delhi police force or
Sir,
which
I gave state civil services for UP state.
union
Sir,
territories?
UP state civil services as deputy SP.
So where are you from, by the way, in UP?
Sir, I'm from Delhi and I have
But you
been
could appear,
born and
in the state civil service, and you
yes, sir, my
qualified for the
parents
state.
are
Okay,
yes, sir.
you've qualified for the state police service.
Yes, sir.
So then, since it is written in your DAF, they might
Sir,
ask
no,
you.
I haven't mentioned this in my DAP, sir. So I
Oh,
actually
you
did
haven't.
one question.
So
Yes,
on
sir.
your own, don't bring this up unless you
Yes, sir.
know well about. I mean, if it comes in a conversation, let it come. But you should not be mentioning it yourself that you qualified for the police. Let them discover it. They will discover it, and then they will ask you questions on policing in UP. And there have been very many recent problems in policing in
Yes.
UP, whether it was Hathras, whether it was Unnao. There have been very serious problems. That is one. The second is what happened in JNU, what happened in the other university here. You should be conversant with your approach. What approach would you have adopted if you saw certain goons going into JNU as a police officer standing there? What would you do? Think over it. It's a very sensitive question. Whether you will be
Yes,
able
sir.
to answer the way you are practice it a bit. Okay. These are the questions that will be asked of you. Then since you are working in the patent office,
Yes, sir.
you should know about WIPO, you should know about the patent laws, you should know the difference between patent and other IPR regimes.
Right,
Your
yes.
indication, what is the difference between them? You should clearly be able to explain, because if there's somebody from commerce side sitting there who would know about this and would certainly want to ask you about the relevance of patent, of the problems that the patent regime faces in countries like India and China. How is India grappling with it? What has been the development in the patent regime for the past decade or 2 decades? How is it evolved in India? Why isn't India, there aren't as many patents as elsewhere in the world? So all these questions you should be prepared yourself. Okay. Now, what are the questions that you have in your mind?
So like one question was this only, shall I mention like I have, given so much time. So like my age is 32 currently. So they may ask that since you wanted to give civil services, why didn't you try state civil services? So shall I mention them that I have qualified or?
No, you say that I got a service, I was working in it, but I was aspiring for better service. And hence I also applied for the state civil service. Don't say at this stage, I applied for state civil service, I have appeared here also. Then they will ask what happened. They say, there I have qualified for the police service. Then you can actually, if they ask you details about police, you can say what you heard about police. You haven't experienced yourself as a police officer. You just heard about it.
Yes, sir.
So your guess or your understanding would be as good as any common man of the police. You may have a point of view. You should have a point of view on the way police conducts itself, as the reputation of the police. That is an observation, not as an officer. That's an observation as a common citizen of this country. So I don't think you should worry on that front.
Okay, sir. So I have like this thing in mind. They may think that maybe you were not confident, so you started looking for other exams as well, and you have already worked for so many years. So
what you have to say, sir, I don't think, sir, it is an issue of confidence or anything. I've already got a job, very happy with that job, but I was looking for better opportunities, and you answered it very well. What are the opportunities you're looking at? So there's no harm in anybody trying to improve his levels of functioning, working. You are trying to do that. Problem arises, suppose you passed out in 2012 and you were doing nothing and just appearing in the exam, then there would have been a problem. But you've qualified, you are there, you have a job. It's not that you're running away or anything. You are seeking better opportunities. As you rightly said in the beginning, even if you join late, the opportunities of promotion would be better than the promotional opportunities that you have at this point in time.
Yes, sir.
If you join late, your area of influence or the people that you will cover will be much more than the influence that you have now. So what you are seeking is an improved opportunity of what you're doing. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Any other question that you have?
Sir, one thing is sometimes it happens that the board members, your medium of interview English, but they start asking questions in Hindi. So some say you should reply in the language in which the board member is asking questions.
No,
So before
and others also listen to this very carefully. You answer the question in the language that you are comfortable in. Okay. You don't have to answer the question in the language that he's asking. No. If you're comfortable in Hindi, answer it in Hindi. No problem. If you can answer in Hindi, do that. But don't do that because the question is being asked in Hindi. It's your comfort level that is important. तो अगर आप हिंदी में उसकी बात का जवाब दे सकते हैं और इंटरव्यू हिंदी अंग्रेजी में चल रहा है, दीजिए, बिल्कुल हिंदी में दीजिए. लेकिन आपको हैंडीकैप नहीं होना चाहिए. आप अपनी बात का प्रस्तुतिकरण अभी अपने विचारों की अभिव्यक्ति स्पष्ट रूप से कर सकें, जिस भाषा में उसी भाषा में कीजिए. दूसरी भाषा में मत बोलिए. जैसे मुझसे कभी भी, अभी नहीं, सेवा में आने के बाद भी, अगर कोई मुझसे हिंदी में पूछता है तो मैं उसका हिंदी में जवाब देता हूं, क्योंकि हिंदी में मैं बोल सकता हूं. अगर कोई पंजाबी में मुझसे पूछेगा तो मैं उसका पंजाबी में जवाब थोड़ी दे दूंगा, मुझे आती नहीं पंजाबी. अगर मुझे उसका प्रश्न आ गया तो मैं जिसमें बेहतर समझूंगा अंग्रेजी या हिंदी उसमें मैं अपनी कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से जवाब दे रहा हूं, उसकी कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से नहीं दे रहा इंटरव्यू में कम से कम. ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
और कोई प्रश्न हो?
Sir, one is like, sir, I have mentioned in my achievements that I won an award in Sanskrit speech during my 10th class. In Sanskrit speech competition. So can they ask me something in Sanskrit?
Or I mean, if it is written there, they will ask you about Sanskrit. There can be many questions on Sanskrit. The questions could be, why can't, since you could win an award, why can't there be teaching in Sanskrit? Why shouldn't there be teaching in Sanskrit? What is so great or not so great about Sanskrit? So Sanskrit पे तो आपसे पूछेंगे प्रश्न. और चूंकि आप संस्कृत में बोल चुके हैं, इसलिए आपको ऐसा कठिनाई नहीं होनी चाहिए. लेकिन संस्कृत की महत्व क्या है वो आपको अच्छी तरह आना चाहिए. और संस्कृत इतनी जनव्यापी नहीं हो पाई, इसका क्या कारण है? संस्कृत की हिस्ट्री क्या है? संस्कृत की उत्पत्ति कैसे हुई? संस्कृत से हिंदी की उत्पत्ति कैसे हुई? ये सब आपको जानकारी होनी चाहिए. ठीक है?
Yes.
इससे पहले मैं सामान्य प्रेजेंटेशन शुरू करूं, I have asked Jatin to send me across your telephone numbers, which will come to me later in the afternoon. I will send a message to all of you, and I will also share with you some articles which I think could be useful for you in the interview, and you can have more discussion with me. But since I keep a busy schedule, my suggestion to you would be just send me a message first. I will assign some time, and then you can call me, and then we can discuss on phone. Feel free to come back to me. So what I'll do is I'll briefly look at some general points. Okay. Can you make me host, Jatin?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just sharing with you some broad points which you should take care of. Some of them I mentioned as we were discussing, but these are the broad points that kindly consider for preparation, because I have always believed you can actually prepare for personality test. And I did that. I benefited enormously out of it. And that is why I'm suggesting to you all also to consider preparing. So in order to do that, first you have to look at what is the board looking for. Because without understanding what the board is looking for, how do you prepare yourself? So this has to be understood very clearly as to what the board is looking at. And then once you understand that, the next step would be, how should you prepare for what the board is looking for? And the final slide would be on during the day of the interview and at the time of interview, what should you do? Now, this has to be understood very clearly. The board this is not an interview, because the focus of interview is testing your knowledge. Your knowledge has already been tested in your written exams. So the board is not looking at your knowledge. They are looking at your personality. Now, what are the attributes of this personality? One, your articulation. How do you speak? And as I find, all three of you are fairly articulate, but I'll suggest ways in which you can improve your articulation further. Now, I think Jagrati has been in public speaking, but if you follow the drill which I'm going to suggest to you just now, your speech will become even more refined. You can always improve on your speech. Of course, I had a serious problem because I had switched over from science to arts in BA, and I wanted to improve my both written and oral communication skills. So I went through the drill that I'm going to suggest to you. It would help. It has helped many people. It would help you also. Then they're looking at whether you present your case logically, whether your argument flow logically. It is not randomly put. Third, they're looking at whether you are reasoning out what you're saying, whether you are rational in your approach. So, whereas you can use quotations of great people like Mahatma Gandhi and Gurudev, but that can't be the basis of your argument. Basis of your argument has to be either data or facts. You can further embellish it by quoting somebody, but it has to be a reasoned-based argument. Then, of course, your expression has to be coherent. Sometimes when you speak, it's very difficult for the other person to understand what you're saying. So you have to be coherent. But most important part is that you have to be positive in attitude. This is extremely, extremely critical, because they may give you situations and ask you, how would you respond to this situation? So they will look at whether you are looking at a situation positively or negatively. So as I was mentioning earlier, even about COVID, yes, it has come from nowhere. There's a lot of trouble, but can you cull out certain positive aspects that emerged out of COVID? Similarly, when we're talking of Bhopal gas tragedy, can we look at positive elements? Now, that itself was a tragedy, but the positive element is the lessons that come out of it, so that such tragedies don't happen in the future. So when I was posted as coal secretary, almost everything that had gone bad had actually rock bottom, because there were scans and CBI was after officers and everybody. Now, if I had a negative attitude, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. So the leader, as you would be if you join the civil service, and I'm sure you will, you have to have that positive attitude, that innate belief in yourself to finding solutions to the problems. Now, problems need not be your making, but the job of a civil servant is to find solutions to those problems. And that's where your positive attitude comes. And that is where I have suggested to those of you can lay your hands on it. Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant has 70 such case studies where you would initially feel negative about it, but you look at the positive part of it as you read it, as you find out how positively looking at issues help you resolve the problems, which otherwise may appear to be insurmountable. Then, of course, you have to be aware of the recent happenings, and that, of course, you have to do it. Then you have to be aware about the places you've stayed or you are staying, and then, of course, your hobbies. Now, how do we go about it? First of all, this fundamental principle, the candidate is not supposed to know all the solutions. It's very important. Sometimes you feel, shy, you lack that confidence. Don't worry about it, because those sitting on the other side of the table also do not know solutions of the problem. They might ask you to a solution of the Kashmir problem. Now, if you knew the answer clearly, you would not be sitting on this side of the table. You would be sitting on the other side of the table, perhaps, asking questions. So don't worry if you don't know the solution. The board is looking at how do you approach a problem? How do you attempt to find a solution? The discussion is on your approach, not the solution. You may not be fully conversant with the entire issue. So hence it is important, number one, to improve your articulation. You may have a lot of things in your mind here, but if you're unable to speak out what you have in mind, what is the big deal? It's like your written exam. You may have a lot of things here, but if you're unable to write, that you've crossed because you've been able to write. People, some of you have sociology as a subject. You couldn't have qualified had you not been able to pen down your thoughts seamlessly, they flow. But since you've been quiet and preparing for the exams, now is the time to speak as much as you can. Speak as much as you can. You have to improve your articulation. How do you improve your articulation? Pick up the editorial page of any newspaper that you read and read aloud the editorial article. Not the editorial, but the article beside it. There are two normally articles on the editorial page. Pick up any one of the articles and read it aloud. This will help you in 3 ways. Number one, it will help you improve your diction, your articulation. You will see it improve over a period of time. I would suggest tape as you read, and within 15 days, you'll realize that your speech is improving, your diction is improving, your words are coming out with more clarity. And if they aren't, you'll be able to detect what you are unable to read out clearly. After having read it, put the paper down and speak the words out, speak the topic out in your own words. You don't have to memorize what you've read. You have to speak it out in your own words. So first, of course, your diction will improve. Second, you will start looking at issues logically. I mean, I told you whether you speak logically, because most of these articles will build their build their argument logically. And third, very importantly, is that you will have greater awareness of that particular issue. You know, imagine if 1 month down the line you have your interview, you would have knowledge of 30 different subjects. And if you don't understand some of it, you'll go to internet and get some more knowledge. So for current topics, and most of these articles will be on current topics, you will get to learn more, you will get to know more. So articulation improves, your logic improves, and your understanding of issues improves. All this will help you if you read such articles. For similar objectives, constitute into small groups. I don't know whether you have. Jagriti, have you constituted into a small group of those that are appearing in the civil service this year?
No, sir.
Do get into a group. If you don't already have a group, I think Jatin will help you constitute a group. All 3 of you and 2 more can come in. 5-member group. What this group does is, every day you decide upon a topic on which one of the group members will speak for 10 minutes on the following day. So this way you will have, someone would have spoken 30 different topics, and your turn will come once in 5 days. So he speaks for 10 minutes. Other group members speak for 2 to 3 minutes on that subject, and it becomes a group discussion. There again, same benefits as in case of reading articles. Number one, your articulation will improve. Number 2, you will be able to articulate your views logically. And number 3, you have greater knowledge on a particular subject. So 30 in group discussions and 30 articles you read. So on 60 topics of relevance today, you would have much more knowledge. I can assure you, you will benefit from it. And then of course, finally, you can have mock interviews the way you want to. Then, as I mentioned earlier, you have to study at length about the places you got stay, where you had your education. They might ask you on that. Then they would normally not ask you about the subject that you have. So for example, if you opted sociology, they won't ask you on sociology because they've already tested you. What they will ask you is current subtopic that is relevant to the subject that you have taken. So right now there's a lot of talk about the dissensions in the society, the caste related issues, the community related issues. You should brush yourself up on that. They might ask you on that. You'll be expected to know not the subject, but the current relevance of the subject that you've done. Then of course, the third point is relevant to everyone. You have to brush yourself on current affairs. Obviously, you would be reading the newspapers and magazines. Also look at not all the television debates, but some of the debates are very useful, especially those in CNBC. These are economic issues related debates, but they're very useful. They don't fight with each other as in on some other channels. So CNBC, ET Now, these are channels that you should watch. Probably you'll get a better idea of the subject. Then on the day of the test, I have been suggesting that you should dress normally. Don't wear anything new. Don't wear a new sari that day, Jagriti, because you'll feel very uncomfortable with it. Wear clothes in which you are comfortable in. Don't wear a new shoe. It will make unusual noise and you'll feel very uncomfortable. I wore a suit during the first year. I felt very uncomfortable. I wore it because in those times it was felt that you have to wear a suit. And this was the month of May and it was very hot. Of course, I was not asked any question on that, but I felt very uncomfortable. Subsequent in the next year, I wore a full sleeve shirt and a collared shirt, probably a white colored shirt. And I felt comfortable and I spoke what I had to speak. And it made a world of a difference. So I would suggest don't wear anything out of the way. Don't wear a very strong perfume because it will put a few people off. You can wear a light perfume, but not a strong perfume. Then second point is also very important. Listen very attentively to what is being told to you. Never ever interrupt a board member. Speak only after he's completed. And suppose you are giving an answer and he interrupts, then you should shut up immediately. Two people should not be speaking and should not be the person you should not be the second person speaking. So let him say what he has to say. And finally, you are not there to win an argument. So you don't try and win an argument. There could be a difference of opinion. In democracy, it is an understood fact that you differ. You can live with the differences of opinion. You don't have to win an argument. And finally, you must understand the difference between facts and opinions. Facts are facts are facts. Don't fib, don't guess on facts until they push you to get a fact out of you. You must confess and say, sir, I don't know. During the second year when I got this stupendous marks, 25% of the questions I said, I don't know, sir. So it's not that you should know everything, but even for an opinion, if the opinion has to be based on facts and you are not aware of the facts, confess that you don't know the facts. They may still ask you your opinion, give your candid view on that. Then as you speak, this is extremely important. Don't convey an impression that you are an authority on a subject or you're dogmatic about a particular view. Always say, sir, based on the limited information that I have, probably in my opinion. So there could be other opinion. That's opinion of yours is based on the information that you have. And as I said, and I have been saying that very repeatedly, there can't be a final answer to issues. And you are not supposed to tell the board, sir, this is how it should be done. No. What you have to say is, sir, in my limited understanding, this is the possible way forward. आपने कितने सारे दरवाजे खोल रखे हैं, कहीं से निकल लीजिए. ठीक है? I have requested Jatin to share this PowerPoint presentation with you all, and I hope he does it. If you require any further explanation, you can seek those explanations from me. All the best to all of you. If you have any further questions, you can ask those of me, and then we can close it. Okay. Any question? Jagrati, you have a question? Yes, please.
Madhya Pradesh has a very high percentage of tribal population, and their development is a key problem in the state. I am expecting a question on Naxalism. I have been attempting to answer these questions, but some of them say that they do not want development because developmental work is already in progress. And I personally feel there are sometimes leaders who are creating a propaganda around the poor people who are supplying them with the fighting forces. So what exactly is the issue? And
you will certainly not answer in the manner that you are mentioning it now.
Yes,
don't. You should have to convey a positive vibe without a blame game. So if I were you, I will look at this first, try and identify the causes of Naxalism. Sir, one of the major causes of Naxalism in India is the poor development of that region. Even if you don't believe in it, I mean, at this stage, you can't be knowing everything. It's a fact of life that lack of development in the region is one of the primary causes of Naxalism. Of course, there are local and otherwise ideological issues also. They have thrived on this lack of development. As a person aspiring to be civil servant, you have to look at that issue in this manner, because there's no other way. You can't address the issue of Naxalism ideologically as a civil servant. As a civil servant, you can only address it through the development process. So that is the basis on which you're going to define Naxalism. And then if you can get some data, you'll have to do a bit of research. If in some places Naxalism has been dealt with on account of development. So it has to be a manifold approach, which includes development as the bulwark, and around it, strong, effective action against those who are violating the law of the land. So if I remember correctly, now I'm going understanding from memory, in Andhra Pradesh, this approach worked. In fact, the intensity with which action was taken against Naxals, they ran away from the forests of Andhra Pradesh to the forest of Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra, because they are joining areas. So it has to be a multi-pronged attack with two primary constituents of development and strong action against them. So this will, to start with, this is a I'm sorry, we had a load shedding here. Can you hear me now? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I'm on my data right now, so there was connectivity from there. So I hope, Jagti, you got the point that I'm trying to convey to you.
Yes, sir.
See, sometimes in your body language and your language, I discern some disillusionment. Like the yes part and the one that you mentioned here. Try consciously not to do that, because the message you are conveying is a negative one. You're saying it's pretty bad, sir. What can we do about it? You can't. As a youngster, as an officer, you can't. So try and give it a positive tilt. Make a habit of it. Speak in front of a mirror. Start answering questions and look positive. You'll discern it yourself. What I'm telling you, you know. See, for you, if you can bring about that 5% change in which you are presenting, I can guarantee you'll qualify. Because you have the gift of the gap, you're able to communicate. Sometimes I get this feeling there's a negative vibe that is coming out of it. Okay, so try and avoid that. Do a conscious effort in your group discussions, in your mock interviews. Try and consciously do it. If you do it for next 1 month, you will be able to hear yourself. Then you will be looking at issues more positively, finding solutions. Rest assured that the burden of the entire earth is not on you. That message should not be conveyed from you that, oh, kitne musibat hai, kya kare? No, you can't take that approach. Okay. Any other question, observation? Yes, Tushar.
Sir, this is a political question. Sir, we are seeing that with time since independence, somewhere the criminalization in politics is increasing. Also, we can compare that the leaders that were there during independence time in the first, second, third Lok Sabha, and now the quality of leadership that we are seeing, there is a substantial deterioration in that. Further, in the recent elections also, we have seen the manner in which politicians has advertised themselves, the words that they are using. It's really disheartening to see. So is that the people, because politicians are all what people wants. So is it the fault of the people, or is it that India is not ready for a democracy, or our democracy is only declining? Is it so? I mean, how can we give it a positive thing?
I hope what you said is not your observation. Or is it?
Sir, I want to look at the positive side, but I don't find the real facts that how can I present a positive picture to this?
Okay, so again, I would suggest read Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant, because I went through those dilemmas. And you will actually discover how you can look at it positively. Not only reluctantly positively, but actually positively. Let me answer this question. If I were faced with this crisis, suppose this question, did not come as an observation, and others should listen to it carefully. This does not come as an observation, my observation, but an observation of a board member who says things are collapsing, there's so much criminalization in politics. I would start by saying, sir, one cannot deny the fact that criminals and criminalization of politics is the order of the day. It has happened. I can't deny it. But the fact of the matter is, despite this criminalization, there are a large number of politicians who's doing marvelous job. There are a large number of officers, despite this criminalization of politics, are able to deliver. So I will, if I do qualify for the civil service, I like to understand how such politicians exist. I'd like to understand how such civil servants exist, how they are thriving and performing, and maybe learn from them and perform accordingly. So I've given it a totally, because I don't know fully how it happens. My assessment right now, whether dejected assessment, whether my pessimism or optimism, is based on the hearsay of what I've heard. Now I have a choice to look at such politicians who are doing a great job. If you read my book, I have spoken about such politicians who are absolutely fantastic.
But sir, we
But
cannot
the-
take. Sorry, sir.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So the problem here is that in any evolving democracy, these are the natural concomitants. I cannot do anything about it. But when I'm faced with it, I'll find a way to wade my way through it. Now, I can't change the politician, can I? But I can change myself. And how do I change myself? I seek inspiration from those that have managed to remain effective and honest. And it would be wrong to say that there are no effective or honest officers. The question is whether I'm looking at those officers to learn from them, or looking at officers who have succumbed to the attractions of the service and have themselves become. So that's my choice. So you've given a total positive tilt to what, and that's what I try and bring out in my book. If you read it, you will have a different. Yeah.
Sir, like you said that there are some politicians, there are some officers. We should not take name of any of those. Right?
No,
And
you can't,
further,
because you have not worked with them. All you have to repeatedly say, sir, I hear of some outstanding politicians. I hear of certain. If they ask you, please give me some name, you can give some name. They will say, no, he was very corrupt. Bole, sir, in my understanding, I think he was honest. So if you take the name of Julius Ribeiro, he is going to contest whether he was honest or dishonest. But we don't remember Julius Ribeiro. We remember officers who made money. Let me tell you, and that's why I'm asking you to read the book. In 38 years, I came as many good officers as bad officers. But we are only discussing bad officers. Why? Because we like masala in this country. No? We like masala, we are given masala, we eat masala, we live with masala. But you don't have to say that there. All you have to say is, sir, there's no denying the fact that criminalization of politics has increased. It's there. There could be reasons why it has. There have been some methods, institutional methods suggested, like funding of common funding of elections and things like that. Study it and see if that works. And so you can't take a negative view that things are so bad that I can't do a nut about it, even if I get into the civil service. You can't even say a moral high ground and say, sir, I'll change it. I'll change everything. That's wrong. Both these approaches are wrong. You have to be humble about what you can do. Yeah.
Sir, in this, we can add it like that. Like you said, there are some good politicians, some good officers. And sir, which inspires us all, us youths, that we should also be in this service and contribute to the development of the country.
If you don't use the word should, you can use the word can. It would be better.
Okay. So sir, that will further give a good.
Should is prescriptive. Can gives you an option, which means that you have an option. You may or may not exercise that option. When you say you, it is not only you. The whole set of civil servants getting into the civil service. One is should do that, that is normative. The other is can, which means that you have an option. The third is you can't. Take the second option. That option is available. When should is, you are sitting on a high pedestal and pontificating. This should happen, this should happen. No. As a common man, you should say it can. Why? It can because it is happening. There are a number of officers who are following that path. It is not normative in the sense that one should do this. It can because it is happening. So that makes you very realistic in your approach, not prescriptive in your approach. By saying should, you are being prescriptive in your approach. By saying could, you say that I have that option. That's the humility part. Rather than telling others, you're telling yourself, sir, I think we do have an option. You're not saying we should do this. Understand the difference between the term should and we could. Okay? Any other question? Okay, then I will be available to. Yes, Jagrati.
So one thing more regarding that naxalism and development. I have been asked this counter question that they do not want development. Can I say it this way? That the development should be bottom up rather than imposing our own idea of development.
Jagriti, don't be prescriptive at all. I mean, when you say should be, which means that you've come to conclusions and you know that's the way forward. Why? How? No one should be saying that.
We can
You
try
should say,
bottom.
no, see, try and understand. You should say, sir, in my limited understanding of the issue, I have come to understand that development does work. So what you are saying is development should be done or development can be done. See, I'm deliberately trying to say that. You should not be dogmatic about your views that it should be done this way. Because even I at this age, in many of the issues, I'm myself not sure which is the best path possible. So what you will say is that, sir, in my limited understanding of the issue, that development does help in taking care of nature. So that guy is, no, there's so much development that has happened, they're still shooting from rifles. Then you will say, sir, there are other steps also to be taken. But if I were to ask one single point, that would be development. But of course, you have to take action because it takes all types to make this world. Every Naxal doesn't have a similar approach. So you have to treat them differentially. So for example, I mean, I'm just elaborating, you did not say that. I mean, I saw Naxal in Jharkhand. They are not Naxalites at all. They are like dacoits of any other place. They have no ideology. Naxalism has ideology. They don't have any ideology. They're dacoits. Now, handling them will be different from handling those, say, in Chhattisgarh. So what I'm trying to say, what you can say also is, sir, it has to be a multi-pronged approach, which should include primarily development. Development alone will not help. Strong action alone will not help. And political engagement itself alone will not help. I think all should be taken together. It is difficult for me to say which one will work. It will depend on the nature of the place, but a multi-pronged approach is much better than single. Now, this is good enough for you to answer. You are not a Naxal expert to explain that in Bastar this will work, in Sukma this will work, in Gadchiroli this will work. You're not supposed to know that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Thank you then. All the best to all of you.
Thank you,
I will
sir.
convey a message to you on mobile. You can come back to me on that number if you have any other question. God bless you. And I'm sure
Thank you, sir.
all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.